So I got a question this morning around condensing hives. So I just call them hot hives, but basically the question was, uh, is it okay if I insulate 3 of the walls and leave one uninsulated and then insulate the top? And then in a nutshell, what I'll show you is that no, you must have insulation. So it's not a condensing hive if you don't have insulation on all 4 walls. So what you could do technically is have 3 of the walls at R10 and 1 of the walls at R5. Because if you think back on that video, the half rule of insulation, uh, not having insulation or doubling the insulation has a significant impact, especially in the beginning. So when you go from, say, nothing, so just R1, and you go to R2, you're actually going to cut the heat loss by half. And if you go again by another R, so you go R3 or 4, so you're cutting that half in half. So literally those first 5 R's are the critical ones. And then after that, it gets into the law of diminishing returns. So I'll just show you a quick spreadsheet I made. I've had this for a while, but I'll post it on the video. But you can see there's a single, a double, and a nook in there. What I've done is it's just use the heat loss calculation for conduction. I'm assuming 10 watts, so a cluster that's generating 10 watts. And then assuming what the average temperature outside is in the winter. So in this example, it's -10. And then what you can do is actually adjust the insulation factors, so the R factors, those yellow boxes, for the different walls, and then you can see what the impact is. So that number, I'll show you, this number here, below the -10, that's the pretty much the effective temperature of that inside wall. Because I reversed the formula, so we know what the outside temperature is. We know what the heat generation that cluster is, so it's 10. So what it's calculating for is what the TI is, so the T interior. So you can see that just changing one wall to R1 has quite a drastic impact. So that's how R works. So if you do want a condensing hive, you must use insulation on all the walls, and then one of the walls you can go a bit less insulation, but no insulation is not good enough. So I'd say so that value, anything above 10 to say 15 degrees Celsius, you can assume that the bees will be pretty comfy at that average temperature, meaning that they'll be enclosure driven, so the cluster won't really be activated. But anytime those temperatures drop below 10, 5, for sure in the negative, it means that those colonies will be in cluster and pretty tight. So yes, it's utopic type calculations. The real world is a lot more dynamic, but what it allows you to do is test different hypotheses or different approaches, and it gives you an idea of what the sensitivities are. So, and that's the goal of these spreadsheets, is just to help me understand what the driving factors are. And then the last one, you can see for equivalent R factors on a single, a double, and a nook, you can see how the volume, so the increase or decrease in surface area, how it actually impacts the outcome of that colony and what the potential inside temperature is. Because I found over time there's actually not much difference between a cluster and a single and a double. The cluster in a nook will be smaller. So what I'll do is I'll cut the heat out of that cluster to 5 watts, and then you can see what the comparative numbers are. But anyways, it's just a way of playing with numbers to see what the impacts are. And literally that's how my brain works is I have to do trial and errors to see how things go. So it's still fairly warm. It's about minus close to 10 right now. Bees in the bottom there in this colony here. The bottom entrance is about 6 degrees Celsius, so quite warm. And above in the top, because this is a medium and a half, or deep and a medium, so just above the cluster, it's about 20 degrees Celsius. And the bees are able to vent in and out, basically go from maybe 1% to 2% during the day. So what I got to do now is I brought my my box knife, and I do have to cut some styrofoam to make a better, more wedged in entrance reducer, because the one I put in yesterday is pushed in. So either a squirrel pushed it in or a mouse pushed it in. So I just need to make sure that when I do leave, it doesn't bounce around. And so what I'm going to do too is I'm going to collect some of these dead bees. There's some fresh ones. And I'm going to prep some slides for the Bee Expo. So the national, North American Honeybee Expo in Kentucky. So I'm heading off in a couple of days for that. So I'm going to be giving a microscopy class. But anyways, I hope you enjoy. And we're not even halfway through our winter here. So I see some posts right now on, I think it was in Missouri, where the maples will be producing pollen soon. And yeah, so we're about 40% through a winter, with January and February being the coldest months. So I've been skiing since the beginning of October, cross-country skiing. So just so you know, my bees do have to go through a winter marathon compared to a lot of you. So yes, our extreme temperatures might be similar sometimes, but I don't really care about that, because it's the how much coal is more critical, because that determines, basically it's all about heat conservation and making sure your bees have what they need to overwinter.